Running Magento integration tests can be slow and it can be cumbersome. And specifically in those two areas, I've created my own integration testing helper, which might also be for you interesting if you get started with integration tests. So let me show you a couple of those features that are really something in my workflow that I can't live without. First of all, I'm going to assume that you have integration tests already to be waiting to be run. And in my case, I've picked actually the integration test from my Yireo Google Tag Manager, which ships with a lot of different integration tests, and they all should be in the green. But let's wait and see how this turns out. Now, the first thing that you always need to do with integration tests is make sure that they're properly set up by diving into the dev test integration folder. And then within that specific folder, there's the phpunit.xml file that needs to be set up in a proper way. And I'm never using actually the test suites that are originally there in the default file. I'm always removing everything that I can. And all of the locations of my test are simply just specified in the configuration of PHP Storm itself. Second, you always need to dive into the install config MySQL file. And by default, that's returning an array of all of these different setup flags. And it's kind of hard to do this right. It's easy to make small little mistakes. And it's also kind of hard to know what other flags are there besides actually just running bin Magento setup install -- help. But basically, this is where my where my integration testing helper is coming to the rescue. It's replacing that strong return of all of these different values with an object-oriented approach. And simply by using autocompletion in PHP Storm, you can use that to your own needs. Now, first of all, any kind of setup in Magento always needs this database. Second, if you're using a more modern, up-to-date version of Magento without hex, you also need to have Elasticsearch and/or OpenSearch. But optionally, there's also this ability to add Redis to the stack, and that's just making sure that all of the hosting environment specs are being met. Now, on top of it, there's a little flag in there with the Magento installer to disable specific modules. And that's basically where my integration testing helper has gone crazy a little bit. First of all, I'm just making sure that all of the different modules are disabled. Well, without any modules, we don't have Magento, so nothing is going to be working. So therefore, afterwards, I'm enabling everything of Magento. And the benefit here is basically that if I would have more third-party extensions installed, I still can disable all of those third-party extensions with just 2 lines of code, disabeling everything and then enabling only the Magento versions. And then on top of it, you can just play around with other disablings that are shipped with this module. So for instance, you can disable GraphQL, you can disable Magento inventory, you can also disable certain patterns. And then afterwards, you can enable specifically those modules that are needed to be run. Now, this specifies a hard-coded module version like so, but you can also do this in a different way by using an environment variable. And in the pop-up, you can see here that an environment variable Magento_module needs to be specified, and that actually needs to be specified here, which is a little typo, but this is Magento module. And then afterwards, every test instantiation right here will have a unique environment variable, theoretically comma-separated, multiple modules that need to be enabled, which makes sure basically that you can just get rid of that hard-coded line and only enable those modules that actually need to be enabled. The outcome of all of this is pretty cool. If I use this configuration, disabling whatever I can, running it in a very optimized environment, then basically the runtime of all of this, in my case the 25 integration tests, is being run in, let me scroll down, 21 seconds, and those 21 seconds is including the Magento installation time itself as well. And theoretically, I can get even more of this by disabling the GraphQL modules itself as well. However, there's a small little dependency between GraphQL and the Google Tag Manager as of yet. Yeah, to the very least, hopefully you can see that this is pretty fast already. There are more features than this in the integration testing helper, but let me get back to them in other videos. To the very least, hopefully you can already see that the integration testing helper is a benefit, hopefully to you as well. Feel free to download it, put it to use, and let me know what you think.